Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening. This is me, Abu Bara Muhammad Amriki, representing Black American Muslim opinions. Tonight, I like to speak about the Black anti sentiment in the Muslim community against Black Muslims who are from the African diaspora. I was contemplating today on a scenario, and I seen a post on Facebook a few minutes ago where a brother has said or asking brothers about a particular masjid that does not allow blacks or from the African diaspora imams who are graduates from Islamic University of Medina. And I have seen this video, I believe it's sometime last year, the end of last year or the beginning of this year. I have seen this video. I was thinking today before I seen that post on the same scenario, a same similar situation, and it kind of rolls into the post I just seen a while ago. And that scenario is, for me, sometime last year, somebody sent a sister to me who's from New York. She contacted me about marital problems, and somebody had suggested I speak to her, or she suggested that she talk to me. So when I was talking to the sister, she was saying about her husband and his family don't respect her because she can't have children, and she's childbearing, and that they make fun of her all the time, and her husband allows his family members who are females to make fun of her. And she wanted me to speak to her husband about the scenario and the situation. And the person who introduced her to me, I have some dealings with this particular other person for a long time. So the sister, I believe she is from New York like myself. And I figured from talking with her, she told me that she is Pakistani. And so this is where not just knowing about Islam or able to give or able to help people with family problems, Islah is really one of the foundation of Islam, where you want to rectify situations for people who have fallouts, whether it's brothers in Islam, whether it's sisters in Islam, whether it's anybody in the community, especially husband and wife. This is something that the Muslim who's involved in dawah or imam is going to get involved with to fix. But you need to understand Islam, and you need to understand people's cultures. You need to understand people's cultures. And if you don't understand people's culture, sometimes you give an Islamic advice, it doesn't go anywhere with the people. So I asked the sister, I said, do your husband like black people? She found it a surprising question. She wanted me to talk to him. And I said that her husband in his age, he didn't grow up in the US, they grew up in Pakistan. And I said, your husband has a Pakistani mentality, or does he have an American mentality? Somebody who's born in America, right? Because there's some Muslims who families are immigrants, but they born here. They have some of the Western, thinking. They're open sometimes to talk to people or things like that. She said, no, he grew up in Pakistan. And I said, do your husband like black people? And she said, no, he does not. I said, from all the people, Imams on YouTube that he listened to, who are they? And she named them. She's like Mufti Mink and this person and that person. And so I asked her, because she's from this area where I'm from. I said, does your husband like Imam Siraj? She's like, no, he really doesn't listen to him. And I named some other personalities in the Muslim community here in New York that many people might not be familiar with. So she said, her husband, he don't listen to black people, none of the black imams. And she said that he doesn't like black people. So I asked her, how would it look like if I talk to your husband about you and his behavior and the behavior of his mother and his sister and his family members that is not acceptable? Do you think your husband would take advice from me from being black? She said, no, he would not take advice from me from being black. So I said, if I was to talk to your husband, will he be more upset with you because I'm black? She said, for sure, he would be upset with her because I'm black and I'm talking to her. So I said to her, it make more sense that you go to some local imam that's from your background, your cultural background, and allow this person to talk to your husband. And I gave her some suggestions, some places that I know of, and I told her she needs to look in her local community. And I gave her some videos and stuff that some people from their background that talks about marital problems, in particular when family members are making fun of one's spouse and the husband do nothing about it. Right? There's a lot of that. Those are cultural things that do happen a lot in some certain cultural communities. These things do happen a lot, especially in the Desi Muslim community, right? There's some things that I hear the women complain about. But the key here that a lot of us don't see is amongst the Muslims, there is a black anti-sentiment amongst Muslims. And this is something that a lot of brothers don't want to talk about, but I have heard black imams who give dawah, who work in multicultural masjids where the people in the community are from different backgrounds, from different nationalities. And I do listen to some of them, and they do complain about how people don't respect them because they're black, and there's also a lot of racial issues going on, cultural racial issues going on between other peoples and other nationalities that are not black. There's a lot of tribalism and things like this going on. And even when sometimes the khatib is black, and it's going to go into the post I seen today on Facebook, even if the khatib or the imam in the community is a graduate from Medina University or a graduate from Islamic University, he's still not going to be respected by some of the Muslims who have anti-sentiment. And this is not just linked to the Desi Muslims or the Asian Muslim community, right? This is also the Arab Muslim community. There's a YouTube a video where our brother, which brother was this? Our brother Sheikh Mufti Muhammad Munir was giving a talk, was giving a lecture in the local masjid here in Queens, Jamaica, Queens, New York. Right? And I was in the video while he was giving the lecture, this Egyptian, was walking out the door. And unfortunately, this Egyptian who was aswad. Anybody know Arabic? He was black. Aswad jiddan. Right? And he said to the brother, Muhammad Munir, when he was walking out the door while he's giving his lecture, oh, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. You translated wrong the hadith. So the sheikh said, don't say that and walk out the door. If you're going to say that, where's the mistake? Right? And the brother gave him to in Arabic what it means, and then in English. And he says that you don't say something like that while you're at the door walking out, you stay. So if I'm wrong, I could be correct. And if you're wrong, I could correct you. Basically, he was correcting. And the guy, he was like mumbling some stuff. And the brother said, show me. The brother was giving the proof off his head about the translation and what it means and an interpretation. And then the Egyptian guy just walked out the door. And the brother turned around and said in the lecture, he said, even the racism, when they see somebody black talking, even if they out up and they black themselves, they have this anti-black sentiment, right? So one thing you need to start thinking about is that I notice a lot with our people is that we give a lot of emphasis on saving people, but we don't put emphasis on saving our own people. We get a lot of emphasis on extending ourselves and helping other people, but we don't extend to help to fix our own community or fix our own issues in our community. But we extend it so far where we would neglect our community and to break our neck sometimes to work with other people who don't want to work with us, who don't respect us because we're black. And it's not restricted to the Desi Muslims, because the Arabs, some of them, not all of them, they have the same mentality, especially in Muslim, especially some Egyptians. I have met some Egyptians, man, they can't, some of them can't control their racism, and you got to put them in place. That's one thing about Arabs when they come out with their racist stuff, because Arabs, not all of them, but some of them are yani shadid, right? So this culture thing. So sometimes you gotta put a little bass in your voice when you deal with them and let them know I'm not the one to step over. Because in their country, if somebody a sheikh and a student of knowledge from their people, they don't disrespect them. They don't disrespect them. Even if they disagree with them, they don't disrespect them, not in their face. Maybe behind closed doors and somewhere else, but in their face, they don't disrespect them. They keep it moving because the people are going to pounce on them. Their own people will pounce on them if they disrespect the sheikh. Their own people will pounce on them and kick them out. So their own people don't tolerate them behaving like this to the sheikh, the imam, like this. The ahwam, they don't allow the people to disrespect the sheikh, right? So when me personally, I'm in this setting and they come out with this, I put them in their place, because a lot of times when you're not from them, and I've seen this a lot in Egypt with Egyptians, if you're not from them, no one would stand up and tell them they're wrong or to fear Allah of that person. So you gotta put them in their place, right? I'm 100% agree with that. I'll put them in their place. Let them know I'm not the one, man. Because unfortunately, some of our African brothers, some of them, not all of them, from Africa, some of them are very soft-spoken, very humble, and very soft-spoken. So when they get in some situations like this, which I have seen with my own eyes, some of them are like, they don't know how to, they won't defend themselves. They won't defend themselves. Some of them, not all. Some of them, they just won't defend themselves. They might be very soft-spoken, especially if they like into the Taliban, into the Sikh Elm. They like very soft-spoken, and they don't, raise their voice. So I have seen when some Arabs or whatever, disrespect them and stuff, and the brothers, they don't say too much. Me, I'm not, I'm from New York. I'm not one of them people. I knock one of them out. I tell the Arab real quick, come out their mouth. I have no problem putting them in their place, because if it's in their country, they sheikh, the religious person, even this person's not sheikh, mutadayan, they come out their face or whatever, the people in their culture, they pounce on them. They will hurt them. They won't play with them. Some Arabs, certain countries I've been to a little bit different. I've been to Morocco, and one day, when I was in Morocco, this guy, some teenagers, some disrespectful, and the people just beat him up. So the people just beat him. And everybody came out of everywhere. People came out their house, their store. They beat this kid so bad, and it's like, yo, man, this guy, I guess, man, like Moroccans, But back to the topic, you know, we really need to start focusing on our community. Then on top of that, with the question asked, not from that sister, but the brother on Facebook was asking about which masjid doesn't allow the graduates who are black from Medina to speak there. A lot of us African American Muslims need to start paying attention, because this black anti-sentiment is real. It's real, especially in the Desi community. The Desi Muslim community, that stuff is deep. But see, the Desi Muslims, all of them are not that way, but there's groups of them, sects of them, certain sects. That's what I call them, a sect in Islam. Some of them have these kufr beliefs, the shirkiyat, this ahlul qubur, the grave worshippers, and the galatu min sufiyun, or galatu min sufiyin, the extreme Sufis, like this. Some of them have these racist black anti-sentiment with them, and sometimes when they see somebody from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah who's not from them or black, the racism come out with them. The racism come out. They just don't like you because you're Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and you're refuting some of their faults to their opponent and telling this stuff is shirk with your opponent. But once they see you black and you're enjoining the right and forbidding the wrong, and you happen to be black, a lot of times with the Desi Muslims, the racism start coming out of them. But I never had this problem with any one of them. They're a little bit timid when they see somebody who is knowledgeable, and they by themselves, or even if they group, and if you have some ilm with you, or some Arabic and some Quran and this and that, and they feel a little timid, some of them. But when they are all together, they talk like that. But when they're alone, one-on-one discussions, one-on-one debates, they ain't too tough. They're not too tough. They're not too tough. They're not too tough. And so I really don't think that's in America. The brother who was asking, I think that was in UK. Because in America, that's the Muslims in America are very liberal. So they won't say that out their face. They won't say that in the public. They won't say that in the public, even though they believe it, or these are part of their beliefs. They won't say it in the public. And then in some communities, they are at the mercy of black peoples, not Muslims, the black people. Some of them are at the mercy of black people. Some of them. So I think that's probably the UK, where Islam been there the longest, and majority of the Muslims are from the Desi Muslims, and like in the UK, where they can hold these type of positions, maybe in a certain masjid, because UK, they got some of the strangest Muslims I have met from the deviant sects. They have many of them in the UK. They have many of these different deviant sects and groups and all type of crazy stuff. And I'm not me personally. I'm not impressed with the Muslims in the UK. I'm not impressed by the Muslims in the UK. They just live amongst the disbelievers. The British are the one of the main colonialists and people who fought against Muslims, who invaded the Muslim world, destroyed the Muslim world, conquered the Muslims, enslaved the people, whether you were black or Indian or Arab. They enslaved people, and people forget about that, the British. So I'm not really impressed by Muslims in UK, because you're living under the one of the main countries that was well known for fighting Muslims. There's nothing you could really boast about as a Muslim saying you're from the UK or you have a community in the UK or you have large numbers in the UK. There's no, there's nothing to boast about in these things, you know. And that within itself, predicament or situation within itself is a sad situation. You know, it's a very sad situation. But when you dealing with Muslims, you need to be aware, especially Black people. You're Muslim, African American Muslim, you Imam. You have to be aware of these things. That's the racism is deep with the Muslims. Unfortunately, Islam doesn't hold these racist beliefs. It's the opposite. You know, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his farewell khutbah, you know, he made it clear that the Arab is no better than the non-Arab, and the black is no better than the white, vice versa, right? Kama qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that his death was close, and that was part of his farewell khutbah. So we know Islam doesn't promote racism, but you have Muslims who are racist, and this is why the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about this in his farewell khutbah, amongst other things that he talked and focused on. So we're going to know that that thing is going to continue to be within the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, so for that brother who was asking, I believe it's in the UK, and I believe that you know, me personally, UK and the Muslim UK, I'm not too impressed with the UK and the Muslims in UK. And then I noticed they have a lot of different sects. And then some of the Muslims are in UK, especially from the Desi Muslim community, they keep on forgetting that a lot of them, who ancestors who came to the UK and things like this, they were part of the subordinates of the British, the colonial empire, when they was conquering and colonializing the world, that you were their helpers. I'm not impressed with the Muslims in UK. So, you know, I'm not really impressed with Muslims in UK. No, there's nothing impressive about you being in the heart in the country that was one of the main countries who plotted and planned to destroy Islam. It's nothing impressive, you know. Whether you're in UK or America or, you know, live amongst the disbelievers is not impressive. And it's sad to say, and it's sad to see that the Muslim, due to his lack of understanding the religion and his lack of understanding the deen, that because you fell in that, we have been conquered by the enemies of Islam. You live in their country, you live in their countries, and you want to go and live in the countries of the people who fought against Islam. That is a very sad state. So when I hear these stories about a black imam or graduates from Medina who are black can't talk in their masjids, I look at that, I'm like, you know, different from the colonialist Europeans, the colonialist British that destroyed your own country that y'all came from. And unfortunately for some of the Muslims from these lands, you help them also. So I'm not really shocked and impressed by weak Muslims. This is you know, UK, Islam in the UK, you think about it, the history of the British Empire and what it did to the world, what it did to the non-whites, non-Europeans, and even Europeans themselves, what they did to the Irish, what they did to the Muslims from the Middle East. what it did to people in India. It's the history of Britain alone, the racist history. It'd be shameful for you to boast about Islam in the UK, knowing that you live under the enemies of Islam historically. They are the enemies of Islam historically. You live from amongst them by the numbers. There's nothing to boast about, and it's not shocking to find people who are Muslims who have black anti-sentiments live under governments that have been perpetrating hatred and racism and thrived and was able to conquer the Muslims based on the Muslims' racism and tribalism and not holding on to the deen. That's how the British, who was a small country, was able to manipulate and conquer a lot of countries, especially the Muslim countries, where they got you to separate by dividing you from the weakness, things that Islam came to change and to better the ummah. You decided to break away from that, and the thing that you broke away from that, the British used that to conquer over you guys, and you guys are boasting about the numbers and how much Islam is in the UK. Yeah, UK ain't no Muslim country, especially the clowns in the UK. You got some Muslim clowns, and these are the people who are the Khawarij, the Khariji people, who are the Khawarij and Takfiris and Jihadis. That look stupid in UK. They look like you have like the biggest dummies. You live under the government that's well known for destroying the Muslim world, and you're boasting, talking about Saudi is kuffar and this, and you live amongst the British. You are the biggest clowns. Y'all once the biggest clowns, actually. Also, from the biggest of clowns. Talk about the Muslims in this country, they kuffar, and the government in this Muslim country, they kuffar, and you live under the British Empire. You guys look like clowns, and it shows that the people who listen to them know nothing about Islam and know nothing about history. Clowns, man. This is a clown. This is an imbecile. It's an imbecile. So I wouldn't pay attention for those brothers who are, especially the African American Muslims. You need to really focus on fixing our people's issues, so we don't have to be upset when we hear things like this. What's the races or don't want, this and that. I even ask Muslims, when people come to me from different nationalities, I give them advice. It's like, yo, they want you to speak to their husband or something. I tell them, like, yo, your husband racist, don't like black people. One day an Egyptian brother came to me, an associate who just came to the US, and he wanted me to help him give dawah to some people from Texas. And one of them became Muslim. And I think they had a boyfriend. She had a boyfriend. And they were trying to get him to take the Shahada, right? So he asked me to talk to him, right, to convince him. And I said to him, because the brother from Egypt, he could pass for a white person, straight up. I told him. His ancestry is probably British anyway, because the British ran Egypt for about 200 years. The Egyptians don't like talking about that. And the British was taking these women, but that's another whole story, right? So I told him, like, ask her. He was on the phone. I said, ask her. Before I talk to him, ask her, is these racists from Texas? I know people from Texas. Racist, redneck, KKK. I said, does he like black people? She said, no, he doesn't like black people. I said, yo, why you want me to talk to him about Islam? He won't listen to anything I have to say. And if I talk to him about Islam, and it's the haq, and it had good manners and etiquette, and I delivered the message, and he don't accept it, it could be a hujjah alayhi. It could be proof. It's going to be proof against him on day Yom Kiyam. I said to the associate who was white Egyptian, I said, you talk to him and let's talk about this and talk about Tawheed and show him some similarities and tell him certain things. And I told him, you give him dawah and you talk to him, because he might accept Islam from you because he see your face is white. He said, oh yeah. And she was like, and even the female was like, yeah, man, because he's race, he don't like black people. Man, that stuff is real, man. And we think we don't want a lot of brothers who are in Dawa don't want to talk about this stuff on platforms or on social media or in front of the people. But this stuff is real, and then when you don't want to talk about it, what you're doing is you're not helping the situation, because what happened when the next black brother comes to the deen, or the black brother who's involved in Dawa, and they get in one of these situations, a lot of cases they're not going to be prepared for this. And there's some black brothers in America who've never been through these type of issues, racist issues before in America. I know some black people. I know black people in America. No one never called them the N word in their face. First time I heard somebody call like the N word in my face, is like in my face saying the N word. The first time I ever heard this in my face, if you miss it, so Ya Zenji. When I was in Egypt, this guy said in my face, Ya Zenji. That's the word for the N word in Arabic. He looked at me dead in my face. He's like, Ya Zenji. I like Umek. I like your mother. He just looked at me. I said, Umek. He just looked at me. I said, "You told him in Arabic, your mother, it's a munafik." I said, "You a hypocrite." And he just looked at me, shocked. He's like, he want to get mad. And I like, I'll lay your ass out right here, man. I was looking at him. I hope I lay his ass out. You know, some brothers, they get in these situations, they don't know what to do, or it's another test for them, or it's you need to think about scenarios before you get into the scenario. You need to think about the scenario before you get into the scenario. And that's why I always talk about all the white converts who are Muslim in America, especially students of knowledge. We need to be out there giving dawah to white peoples and races. And them KKK and them white nationalists, you need to be on the forefront giving them dawah. Because they're not going to listen to me. They probably listen to somebody who's black, maybe after they convert, and they remove some of those things. And I'm not saying that black people don't give them dawah. Yes, we have to even give all of them dawah, but it's not best from the people from them, the nationality who are Muslim, same race as them, give them dawah. Who's going to understand a white person more? Me or somebody who's a white convert? Who want to understand Islam more? Me, a black convert, who I grew up with blacks and Latinos all my life. Anything that I ever seen that's white in my neighborhood is the police or the fire department or a judge or the court officer. That's the only people I see white in my neighborhood. Police, law enforcement, the court and judge. That's the only part I see white in my neighborhood. Or is the best for the person who's white, who converts to Islam, that he's the best to give the dawah to his people. We need to sit down and start having some of these conversations, and find some scenarios. And that actually was in the first, when our sister came, that brother sent that sister to me from Pakistan. It's not my first time going through a situation like that. I know Pakistanis real good. I'll work with some of them before. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes they forget that you're around. And they start using words and things like this. And I heard words from the Pakistanis, racist, black slurs from them. I have heard them in the streets, walking with them. Somebody black come rob one of them or smack one of them in the street. And they be like, N-word, yo, I hear that stuff from them. And they be forgetting you Muslim, you black. They're looking at you. I'll be ready to smack them in their face too. So that stuff exists. Our job is to remind them and things like that. But you're going to get in some scenarios where it might not be best for you to the one talk to their family, because the person might not accept anything from you. Like the sister and her husband. I told the sister, if I go talk to your husband, will he get mad with you? Not just because I'm talking to you, talking to him about personal family problems. Some people, some cultures don't like when the women share outside business of the house to outsiders. Unfortunately, you got some cultures like this. The matter, even if the imam is from amongst them, from their own peoples, right? And I said to her, this is one of her cultures. I already know this is part of their culture. So I said to her, imagine me now. The imam doesn't like, the husband does not like when the women share the family problems outside the home to the imam in the masjid, right? And then he doesn't like black people. Imagine if I go talk to him. He might divorce you. He might think you're sleeping with me. There's another whole thing because they got this issue with black men. They know black men, you know what? They know about the black man thing. They know about that. And it might be like, oh, the woman, some men, they weak. Oh man, this black guy, oh, maybe she's banging him, having sex with him also. And the Muslim, some of the men in the Muslim community got this type of thinking in their heads. So I said, imagine I go talk to your husband. He doesn't like black people, and your culture don't like when the people go outside the home to get advice. He might divorce you, might give you more problems. I said, go to this imam, so and so imam. He's from your culture, he's from your country, he knows your peoples. And I told her some masjids. Imagine I went there just to be divorced. Allahu A'lam. Make the situation worse due to the husband's ignorance and racism, black anti-sentiment. Some brothers think this stuff is not real. Even one scenario I can remember, a Pakistani sister came to me one day. I don't know why. We was in a restaurant. And she said to me, maybe about 17, 18 years old, right? And she said to me, she said, can you come to my house and you talk to my father? I want to marry this guy. He's Puerto Rican. And I said to her, I said, where's your family from? She said her father is from Pakistan. I was like, why your father don't want you to marry the Puerto Rican guy? And all Pakistanis are not like this, because I know some brothers who are married to Pakistani, very few, right? Light skin like me, not dark skin. That's another whole scenario, another whole story we could pass for white. But I said to her, why your father doesn't want you to marry him, the guy who's Puerto Rican? And she told me why. She said, the family's not Muslim. And I said, your father got problems with Puerto Ricans, people who are not Pakistani, people who are, blacks and Latinos. I said, your father got problem with them? She said, yes. I said, now imagine me go to your father's house now trying to tell him that his daughter, that he pays for her, pays everything for her, maintain for her, go to work and give all his money to spend on you. Imagine me going to your father who don't like black people and telling him we need to give his daughter to a kid in school with you who don't have a job, not from your nationality, and me black on top of that. And if I don't have the type of financial status as the person I'm talking to, your father, I don't have the same financial or career as your father. To look down on me, telling him to give his daughter to some guy that you met in school. Told her this. I said, yo, there's an imam here who's an Indian, and his wife is from Pakistan. I said, go ask the imam in this particular masjid, because he is Indian, his wife is Pakistani. And even amongst the Indians, the Desi Muslims, they have a caste system. And the Indians are on the bottom. The Pakistanis are on the higher of the caste system. I told her this. She said, yeah, she's like, so I said that if he's Indian, his wife is Pakistani, he'd be the best person to talk to your father about the situation. And I told her, maybe it's not best you marry this guy. And then the guy, he wasn't even Muslim on top of that. He wasn't even Muslim. He wasn't even Muslim on top of that. And I didn't tell the other reasons why I'm telling her no. I said, because you in school and you talking to this guy every day and you it's not permissible the way you're meeting in the first place. Well, I'm gonna go talk to your father about this, man. But I didn't tell her this. I said, go talk to the Imam in this masjid. He's Indian and his wife is Pakistani, so he married somebody higher up in your caste system. She said, yeah, you're right. I know who he is. I'm gonna go talk to him. So he could talk to my father. Billahi, people think this stuff up. Don't be making this stuff up, man. In New York, see it all amongst the Muslims. See it all. The Desi Muslims, oh man, I don't. The Desi Muslims, I leave them alone. Even I live in their neighborhood, I leave them alone. I don't even have too much conversation with them. The stuff that be going on with them in their culture, man. Islam is like the Sunnah is like a taboo, man. The Sunnah, like sometimes I be talking to them like, yo, are you practicing Islam or are you practicing Hinduism? I said all this stuff, racist, black anti-sentiment, that's part of Hinduism. Even in Hinduism, the devils are all like black in Hinduism and Sikhism also. The devils and the evil are all the black characters. They make the black characters or black avatars as the devil and the shaitan in their Hinduism. That stuff is still with them in the Islam in the culture. And then they have on top of that the caste system, even amongst the Desi Muslims. Arabs have a caste system also. I ain't gonna talk about them because none of them have been bothering me for a while. Arabs got a caste system themselves. Maybe they talk about that in another video. They definitely have a caste system. The Gulf Arabs are on top of it. They are the head of the caste. And you can tell the Arabs by their caste system by one thing. Do they have a Qabila? You know, the Arabs have Qabila, they have tribal things that every Arab, no matter where they from, they're known for. Yemenis are the main ones known for it, right? But they're not at the heart of the caste. They're at the bottom of the caste system, right? Right. Not they're not really at the bottom, right? Because they still have these cultural things, and the Arabs also come from Yemen, right? But there's some other Arabs who migrated from Jazeera Arabiya in Yemen, and they moved to like the Sham area in North Africa. They lost a lot of these traditions, right? A lot of them lost a lot of these traditions, and you get into like Egypt and more, and they become mixed with different nationalities. I can't even say they mix with black. They mix with so many nationalities because the Europeans conquer over them. So many people conquer and colonialize them. They mix with so many different races, and then they allow other races to mix with them, and then they all got nationality when the Arabs got their Arab nationalism together and their countries together. Whoever was living in their country, majority of them gave everybody their Arab nationality. But the Arabs do have a caste system, and they know these people are not originally Arabs. Egyptians, some Moroccans, they have some true Arab blood in them, but not all the people. So there's Arab ties. And so the Arabs have a caste system, and the Gulf Arabs are on the top of it because they still have the traditional Arab culture, their lineage, they know these things. Some of the traditional clothing and some traditional practice they have that is permissible, right? And the lineage and the nuss, they have a lot of this. So you get into North Africa, they be losing their nuss because they don't know their nuss. They are not Arab. All Arabs know their nuss. If they don't know their nuss, they're not Arab. Basically, they don't have some tribal traditions. They're not considered to be. They are Arabized people. The Arabs know this. They're not going to say this to the non-Arab. They're not going to say this to the non-Arab, and they're not going to say this to the non-Arab Muslim. You have to live amongst them, and then you figure this out. And some of them will tell you, yeah. And when they start complaining, you know, when they was bombing Yemen, some Yemenis are telling me, yeah, man, they saw these bombing us because we are at the lower of the caste system. And they're gonna let you know when they get in problems, they're gonna complain. If you understand their language, all you gotta do is listen to what they're talking. They're gonna tell you, yeah, man. This country, this Arab country oppressing this other Arab country because of this and that. They see us look down at us because we're not at the heart of the caste system. Tribalism. No deen. None of this is part of the. Actually, Islam is against, and these are some of the things that even weaken Muslim African American Muslims, especially if you travel and you live in the Muslim world, you learn Deen, you know this stuff, man. We can't be fronting, man. We can't be coming back to America and then we calling our people to Islam and we don't want to tell them the truth and let them know, yo, man, you got to understand these things so you don't get caught in the wrong end of things. When people come to you, you got to know how they cultural things because you could give the person the correct Islamic hukum on a situation. If you don't understand the culture, or whatever, man, especially in marital stuff, you don't understand the culture, yo, you give the woman the wrong advice, man, she might end up getting divorced. Unless you familiarize with the culture. To be very familiar, especially in a multicultural masjid, you have to be very familiarized, not with the sharia issue, the Islamic laws and the fiqh issues, right? And the different mathahib, even al-urf, al-thaqafa. You have to be very familiarized with cultural things, even when you're dealing with Muslims from different backgrounds. I remember some Hanafis came to me one day, asked me something, man. Was asking me something, man. You know? Oh, I was in the masjid and I lost my phone. I was just looking for it. So one of the people in the masjid said, I'll call it for you. I'll call the phone. They see me looking for something. They figured it must be my phone. All right. It's like, yo, let me go to call. I forgot my phone number, which I actually did. I came back. I think I cut my hand on somewhere, right? And I'm thinking about to make salat. My hand is bleeding. I'm like, oh man, these Hanafis, man. Everybody gonna be looking at me because I ain't gonna go make my wudu over again. And if you fit, you bleed, you gotta make your bricks your wudu, right? People, they look. I know some of them looking at me. I'm trying to cover my hand. I'm like, yo, man, I had to go outside, look for my phone and everything, and then one of them found I dropped it in the doorway. I cut my hand somewhere, so I'm like, let me cover my hand so they can't see the blood, man. Because I ain't gonna make no wudu, man. I ain't gonna make no wudu. And they're fit. You gotta make wudu. You bleed it like nose bleeds and this and these things break the wudu. I'm like trying to cover my hand real quick, make the blood go away. Because the Hanafis that have when you deal with people, sometimes you gotta know about the different method. And even for the Indians, the Hanafis, they even have some cultural things, so they method, right? Because even amongst the Hanafis, scholars, they even have some ikhtilaf. Even when it comes to marital issues. And I might be Shafi, for example, and say, oh, I see where I'm at where the Dalil is at, right? So even these fiqh issues, even you deal with certain peoples, they're hardcore Hanafi, and they come to you with certain type of problems, family problems, cultural problems. Sometimes you even have to include some of these things in it. Because the Indians, they're hardcore Hanafis. Hardcore Hanafis. Hardcore. Hardcore Hanafis. Might not want to make salat like this. Or they don't make Rafa Yadain Bada Sujud, Bada Ruku Yani. They don't raise their hand after Ruku. Right? I even see families who are Hanafis fall out because of this. Also, it's a lot fall out. One is Salafi, another one is family's hardcore Hanafi. One of the family members is Salafi, and one wants to go fast and start Ramadan with the Salafi masjid, and then their whole family went to. I'm like, yo, man. I be looking at them like, yo, that's not even a big issue in fiqh. It's not even a big issue in fiqh, especially it should be the moon sighting locality. One family wants to do Ramadan with this masjid, and the other family members or Salafi want to start Ramadan with the Salafi masjid. One masjid is following international sighting than the other Masjids following the Salafi Masjids follow international sighting, and the Hanafi Masjids is going to follow the local sighting. Alhamdulillah, in New York, everybody been having the same sightings. Alhamdulillah, the last few years and last few Eid Salah. All right, but I have seen people, family members, getting upset, family upset, problems in the house Eid day, or because one family wants one is do this and that, and fiqh issues, and make small issues in fiqh a family problem. Somebody come for you with advice. I told one brother, Salafi, I'm like, yo, you should start Ramadan with the people in your family. If your family is following this masjid right here, I don't care if they're doing local sighting. Matter of fact, even this situation I'm thinking about, local sighting, I'm about to go now. Local sighting, I remember one family had a fallout, and like brothers like, yo, my family, I'm like, yo, I don't understand, man. Why you want to follow this masjid? This masjid he wanted to follow. I'm like, they even cited the moon wrong for that year too. One masjid. It wasn't even Salafi thing issue. I remember this particular situation. I'm like, yo, you better stick with your family. They put their trust in this imam and this masjid in this community. And I told him, yo, I'm Salafi. I'm telling him this masjid your family following for Ramadan. I'm like, yo, I'm following them too for Ramadan. Why are you making this big issue? Why are you gonna, this is a small issue in fiqh, but you're gonna make this small issue in fiqh to break up your family on it. Hey, I don't laugh at him. I don't understand this. And I told him, yo, man, you need to stick with your family. But and the imam is not wrong, and the community is not wrong. And I tell him I'm following them also for Ramadan. I'm like, to me, I'm like, yo, man, I'm telling him, I said, oh, no. And the brothers are hafiz in Quran. And he don't. I told him, you're hafiz in Quran and all the dalil, you memorized it. I said, you have all the dalil that support me, but you don't understand it even though you memorized the Quran. I said, yo, we need to start learning Arabic and seeking ilm. I mean, I'm gone, man, because I'm getting off topic. But, the fiqh issues, man, is, the cultural stuff. And then I'm like, your family, your culture you come from, it is very sacred for the Muslim in your family. It's very sacred. Ramadan's very sacred for the Muslim. It's for the Muslim from a Muslim country. And I'm like, you got elderly parents, you're all fast together, breaking fast together. Imagine now you're going to the Eid Salah and you're going on a different date and all your family members going on this day and you're going to go to do Eid until the next day. What type of chaos is going to cause in your family? And they're not wrong. Yani Shabab, yani. Out of him. And the Shabab, man, the Shabab, the Shabab, man, the way they think in America, the youth, and I think I'm at my age, I'm still considered from the Shabab, because I'm 44, but I was thinking the Shabab in America, the Muslimin, Shabab in the Muslimin, yani, the youth from the Muslim community in America, oh man, it's laughing. Laughing. They don't have fiqh. They don't understand fiqh. لا فاهم في الدين. They might be متدين. They might be religious. ربما هو متدين. الشاب متدين ولا فقه. ولا يفهم فقه. يعني في طلب العلم, seeking ilm in Islam, يعني is to تفقه في دين الله, is to become عالم. want to understand fiqh. الفقه هو الدين. And إذا ليس عندهم فقه ليس عندهم دين. If he doesn't have fiqh, a good fahm of the deen, He doesn't have understanding. He doesn't have the deen. I'm out. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. But it's for a reminder for the brothers that it's very important for the Muslim that he gets a good under the African American Muslim that he understand these issues. I know some brothers don't want to voice this opinion who's in Dawah. They don't want to. Sorry, they don't want to voice this. Some brothers do. I have seen brothers now for the since last year come out and say, "Yeah, man, I was working in this masjid. It's a multicultural masjid. They have all these racist things going on in the masjid, and it's a Salafi community on top of that, supposedly." Black anti-sentiment is real. Muslims hating other Muslims from other countries is real, and you see it when it's time for marriage and breaking bread, and when it's time for people to step up for leadership. You see all these things start falling apart. It's the racism and the yani la yafaqahu kama qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam man yuridu Allahu bil khayr yafaqahu fi din, as the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever Allah wants good for and him good for, he give him the good understanding of the deen. Wa qala Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah wa aqs aidan. It is also the opposite. Whoever Allah doesn't give them to learn the love to learn deen, meaning that Allah doesn't want good for that person. The one Allah wants good for, he give them the good understanding of the deen. That's where the Muslim should be at. To understand the deen is to understand how to live and how to fix issues. But we can't get it together because the deen. Racist issue because we don't understand the deen. We are weak in Iman. We are weak in Iman. Racism is a sign of weak in Iman. And I want people to get this channel confused, because my channel here is about fixing Black people's issues in the African American Muslim community with Kitab, with Sunnah. But for those brothers who see these things, you don't want to talk about them, you start talking about them. So you prepare the next person how to deal with these scenarios before it happens, so he doesn't look stupid or feel hurt or hurt somebody else, not knowing the culture, the other person's culture, how they feel about him because he is Black, or feel about him because he is white, or feel about him because he's a revert or a convert to itself. I'm out.